All right, we're going to go silent now, and as soon as I start talking, then we'll know. Hey folks, welcome back to Chris White Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network. On February 14th, I think that day is important for a reason. Oh, that's right, it's St. Valentine's Day. Well, happy St. Valentine's Day to you and to everyone out there watching. My special featured guest, a brief guest on today, is the Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, none other than Wendy Albert. She's back once again. How are you, Wendy? Thanks for coming back to join us.
Thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day to you all.
Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate that. Listen, before we get right into it, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions about Valentine's Day and the impact on the restaurant industry. But I did want to give you congratulations because I have here in my hand a letter, wasn't sent to me, but a letter from Harwinda Pawar from Lux Life magazine, in which they have identified that the Restaurant Association of South Africa has won the award as leading provider of restaurateur professional support South Africa in the 2021 Restaurant and Bar Awards. Well, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We are very appreciative of the award, and I think my staff are going to be delighted. They certainly deserve the recognition and the accolade. They work tirelessly around the clock to certainly do everything to bring integrity, authenticity, and transparency through to the restaurant industry in South Africa.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's what they say. They took a lot into account, apparently testimonials from clients and customers and the community, as well as business performance and also longevity, because you've been doing this for a while. So all played a role. Pretty impressive. Well done.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. Valentine's Day. This is usually a time of the year, I imagine, that restaurants, bars, and pubs around the country are probably pretty stoked because don't you get a lot of your business on Valentine's Day? Isn't that the norm? And is that the norm this year? I suspect it's not.
Absolutely. You know, we were in lockdown from the 28th of December, which is our festive season. A lot of restaurateurs struggled to hold their doors open until the next level of lockdown arrived on our doorstep, which was on the 1st of February. So we had very difficult times. I think we chatted about that and how complex it was. And we've just recently opened. It's our second week into trading, our second major weekend. Our first weekend, we saw phenomenal numbers that represented the industry. People were fatigued from sitting at home. They certainly missed socializing. They missed going out. And this is one of the bigger days in the restaurant industry, the celebration of Valentine's Day. And I could not have asked for a better day to have fallen on the weekend. You know, we've had a celebration since Friday, Saturday, and obviously today. So I must say I did my rounds today, and I feel very warm and loving in my heart to have seen life back in the restaurants, to see all these beautiful people just energized and doing their best thing, and to see all the roses and the rose petals, and to see all the paraphernalia and bubbles and corks popping and music on and lights on and some live music. So it was certainly a very, very beautiful weekend that financially has rewarded the industry exponentially. And I certainly do hope this was the springboard that many of our restaurants certainly needed just to look at bringing in cash flow to survive the month.
Well, that's impressive. Yeah, I guess people hadn't really thought about that. It's actually essentially a long weekend for the industry. You've had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now. But since Valentine's fell on Sunday, if it had fell on Friday, you might not have picked up the business. So this worked kind of to the advantage. But going from here, you and I spoke recently, and you had grave concerns that the industry was going to completely collapse if something wasn't done. Shortly after that, we saw some of the restrictions being eased a little bit. And as you mentioned, restaurants, people coming back to them now. But I suspect we probably lost some restaurants in that time frame. That they just couldn't make it. Is that the case, in fact?
Absolutely. You know, we're still on restrictions, quite harsh restrictions in South Africa. So the inside of our restaurants are only allowed to trade with a maximum of 50 people capacity. And outside areas in open spaces or any outside area can trade to a maximum of 100 people, provided it's 50% of their capacity. So it means in a 1,000 square meter or 1,000 seater restaurant, you're still limited to 150 seats, which certainly does put a lot of financial pressure and impact on those particularly large establishments. The smaller to medium establishments certainly have enjoyed the benefit of the weekend. We've also seen a lot of very innovative, very exciting types of deliveries taking place. So from flowers to gift boxing to a variety of goods that have been well executed in the delivery space, which I was delighted to see. we're not out the dark woods, although we are festive and we are certainly in great joy and we are enjoying what we are set out to do in terms of getting the restrictions lifted and the liquor ban lifted, as well as a curfew. We are able now to have a dinner type trade, which we won't be able to. And we also have a competitive advantage because we can serve within the restaurant space now, Mondays to Sundays, alcoholic beverages, where the off-con is only allowed to sell between Monday and Thursday. So we do have the weekend competitiveness. We are very, very challenged with the rogue operators, particularly bars and pubs that are not adhering to the protocols and the directives, and a lot of converted licenses within the nightclub space, which are now operating as restaurants, and they are taking advantage of what restaurants are. So we are certainly putting a lot of pressure on the media to outline that restaurants really are a safe and beautiful place to come and enjoy your time, that we have beautiful protocols and we can safely execute the protocols and the regulations for both our staff and patrons. So there'll be an ongoing dialogue that will take place over the next couple of days and weeks. We believe that we are set to, the numbers are exponentially climbing at the moment. We believe that there will be a future address around about the 7th to the 14th of March again to extend the current lockdown. We are very concerned about the numbers. The numbers are sitting close on double of what we started at. The trauma cases are certainly up. So we need to try and balance the responsibility in different parts of the on-site consumption. So we are going to be having a lot of conversations this week. Concerned about next weekend. It's the middle of the month. And then obviously we'll look forward to the last weekend of the month, which is payday, which again falls nicely over a 3-day weekend for us again.
Well, I imagine that'd be some sort of potential harbinger to give you an indication of how things are going to go with the current situation when you get to the end of the month, as you mentioned, because a lot of people get paid at that time. So maybe you'll get a better feel for what kind of trade you're going to get.
Correct. But bear in mind, what we are currently doing within our restaurant scope is we are trading at around about 60% of probability, at around about a 35% of capability with 100% of expenses. So the margins and the profitability matrix is not there. We rely heavily on the alcohol to bring the experience and to be able to bring people within our businesses, to be able to bring the viable model, to be able to support the expenses. What we found also since we've reopened is that there's a lot of pressure on us from suppliers to pay COD for stock. And we've also got a lot of landlords that are calling in the outstanding rentals and outstanding debts. So there's no compassion anymore and there's no relief on the landlord side. So we've now launched not a lot of money, where we got some private money in 120 million. It will probably help right about 350 restaurants at an average of between 300,000 to 500,000 in terms of a guaranteed rental for 6 months. So we've managed to get that. We hope that the fund will get some continuity, and a lot more private investors within South Africa, around the world, will be able to open up another 200 million or R1 billion to be able to look at the landlord relief fund to keep restaurants in operation for the next 6 months. So that was certainly a great gift to us this last week in the industry, which will save a number of those restaurants and high tourism belts.
Well, thanks for that, Wendy. Our time is short. You've got other interviews to do, but I'd like to ask you 2 quick questions before you run, if that's all right. The first is that famously in New York City, they allowed restaurants to have outdoor awnings and covers, or like big fest tents, that sort of thing. Is that a possibility for your restaurants? Obviously not, on urban streets and places like that, but is that something you could do like at a game lodge or somewhere like that where you have a restaurant or a hotel? Does it fall in your purview, or is that something prohibited for outdoor?
So again, these are ongoing conversations. We have to open up dialogue with the landlords. Many of the beautiful properties lend to the landscape of South Africa. We have the most incredible summers, even right through into the autumn, close on winter. Winter days are spectacular. So the areas certainly do lend to the availability of that. What we really need to do is just get landlords to agree without wanting to take competitive advantage of our financial position by charging for that space. Many of our restaurants sit within strip malls or sited malls, or these open malls where you write on the car park. In South Africa, patrons like to sit in the parking lot and view the parking lot. So we're looking at proposing to landlords the extension of those parking lots, wooden decking, to be able to make it a lot more favorable and open to the public. So those are all things on the cards. And we certainly have seen a lot of restaurants quickly having to become innovative by moving their businesses outside because of the limited number of 50 inside the establishments, regardless of what size your restaurant is.
Well, Wendy, that's very interesting to know. It sounds like your work is still cut out for you, quite a bit to work out with the government and with proprietors and landowners and owners of these businesses where the restaurants are at. But the final question I want to get to before we let you get away from us is that I always worry and have a concern, not that I'm overly generous, but if I get great service, I do tip well. But there's an expectation to tipping here in the United States. Culture is different around the world. What is going on and what's it like in South Africa? I mean, are people tipping their wait staff? And if they do so, is maybe with them coming back this weekend, have you any indication maybe people are a little more generous if they can afford to be? Because the wait staff and the cooks and the people working these restaurants have also suffered immensely from no income and not getting anything done. So you have any indications of that right now, or is that a cultural thing that people won't tip?
No, look, we are South Africa's most loved industry, and I think that there's a lot of compassion and a lot of love for the people that have tried so hard to be heroes of this industry. You know, everybody knows somebody who owns a restaurant and has really seen how we have struggled through the last month, almost year, now that we've been through COVID, as well as all the beautiful people that work in our establishments. So, you know, we find that people that eat out are generally very generous. We've had lovely reports in of South Africans who have really spoiled the staff this weekend. And they've also been delivering high levels of service. So when I've done my rounds, I can also say that the staff that are working have certainly upped their game. So whilst they've been sitting on short time, they've certainly been scouting the internet or looking at ways to really come back to work energized, enthusiastic, delivering the highest level of service, certainly being motivated and certainly being very, very positive. And that lends itself always to a good tip. And the establishments that I've certainly visited over the last couple of days have really placed large emphasis on encouraging their staff and the staff morale to be so positive. So it's very difficult to not pay them or tip them well over this weekend of love celebrations or the celebration of love, etc. So I'm hoping that the reports on Monday will be very favorable for the industry, that restaurants will report in that they did certainly do high turnovers and that the staff was certainly well rewarded. I can only tell from the beautiful photographs where people have sent and flooded my phone to say, thank you, our industry is open. This is who we are. This is what we do. We are here creating beautiful moments, giving love to beautiful people and creating an environment where people can feel safe to enjoy the beautiful food and service and as well as alcoholic beverages that we have on offer.
Well, Wendy, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you coming on this busy day. Folks, to look at this, Wendy Alberts, Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, working on a Sunday because that's when the trade is happening, trying to help restaurants in South Africa. Wendy, would you like to leave with any last comments or thoughts on this Valentine's Day before we let you skirt out of here?
I think the most important thing to remember is, you know, we are just beautiful people trying to have beautiful experiences. The restaurant industry in South Africa is a non-political, no A-type personality at all. All we are is gorgeous, beautiful people who have the most amazing 5-star establishments that are world-class and have been cited all around the world. And we encourage anybody who's listening to this to come visit South Africa and enjoy culinary experiences that will match any country that you travel to in any experience. And I can promise you, you'll be delighted and excited by virtue of what you see and feel and experience, and most importantly, taste in South Africa.
Well, having eaten in many restaurants across South Africa, I can second your comments as a consumer and client of the restaurant industry. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. Appreciate you being back on. I know you've got other interviews to do on this Valentine's Day. You're welcome back. Let us know when you want to share some information about the industry, and we'll get you back on the channel in the future.
Thank you so much. All right.
All right. I'll let you drop off. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Wendy Alberts from the Restaurant Association. Whoops, her phone is on off. Let me take that off there. Okay, there we go. That was a little awkward. That was Wendy Alberts from the Restaurant Association of South Africa, RASA, talking to us about this Valentine's Day 2021, in which the restaurant industry and bar industry in South Africa has been under a lot of pressure owing to the lockdown in South Africa for the past year. We're on day 326 or something like that now of the 21-day lockdown. Cyril Ramaphosa. Anyway, folks, I hope that you found that interesting and informative. Tip your wait staff. thank your cooks, and thank the folks who park your cars. People watching your cars, providing security, thank them, tip them as well. For many of them, that's the only income they have. It's pretty difficult times. So if you're not a person who goes to restaurants and you're not afraid of the Rona, maybe it's time to get out to a restaurant and support your restaurant industry in South Africa, because it's on its knees, and not by any doing of its own, entirely because of political decisions which have impacted the industry. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed that. It's not a full hour like we normally do. Wendy has got a lot of interviews. She committed to Chris White Africa First. We got her a couple weeks ago, and she agreed to come on Valentine's Day. In fact, it was her suggestion, and we kind of agreed to it and got her back on here. So what I'll do is, after the stream, I'll clip that, make a separate video, and we'll put that up so you can watch just that 10 or 15 minute section right there if you like. Acid Jill, don't worry about being late. I'm gonna clip that and make a prepared video. So there you go. Anyway, that was interesting conversation. Lovely lady. And she seems to be kind of the right person for the job, right? I mean, she has nothing but good things to say about the restaurant industry in South Africa. I'll tell you what, I would be curious to see if Gordon Ramsay ever did a kitchen nightmares in South Africa, just because I'm curious. I'm sure every country has a few kitchen nightmares. We certainly have plenty of them here in the United States. Ethereum Classic, if you're going to keep coming out here and just promoting cryptocurrency, that's not really going to fly. You did it yesterday. You're doing it again. Yeah, so let's knock that off. John Jarvis says, I'm supporting my pub. Yeah, a lot of people like to support their pubs, John. What lessons did we learn from Oscar Pistorius on Valentine's Day? No toilet breaks. Oh, that is a very, very, very unsavory joke there, Chad. Etienne Broderick says, I wish we could support the restaurants more, but unfortunately lockdown has made finances. Yeah, no. Look, Etienne. It's like membership on my channel. It's like super chat on this channel. Don't do it unless you have the resource you can afford to do it. But many people do have the resources. Many people can afford to support the restaurant industry. Absolutely. And those who can, please do. And for everyone else, when you have the opportunity, when it comes around again and you have the resources, then you can do the same. Don't stretch yourselves out to help others and put yourself in a bind, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't help anybody. If you drain your resources to help someone else, it really doesn't help anybody. I appreciate people wanting to be Mother Teresa and give everything away, but Mother Teresa didn't live a particularly wonderful life. She's a wonderful person, but not a particularly wonderful life. She gave up a lot. John says the restaurants are screwed. Please keep the profanity off there. All right. So, anyway, what did I miss over here? Make sure I missed something here. Anyway, let's see. So, Het Janssen van Nunsburg says, best wishes to the restaurant industry. You tried where possible support restaurants. Well, that's awesome, Het. Thank you so much. Yesterday, I supported a local restaurant here in the area. When I walked down there, that's when I ran back because I stayed out a little bit too long. I was actually out of breath when I got back last night for the night owls, but I went to a local coffee shop that served sandwiches and had a sandwich and something to drink there to help support that business. It was kind of a nice break. If I hadn't run back, I would have enjoyed it more, but I ran back, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have. But anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in on a Sunday, Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone, to you and your beau or your boo, whoever it may be, if you have one of those. If not, happy Valentine's Day to everybody. I've always called it a fake holiday, but technically all holidays are fake. We make them up to celebrate something. So I guess St. Valentine's Day is not a fake holiday. But happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on Chris White Africa. And once again, my thanks to my guest today, Wendy Alberts. That was a fascinating conversation we had there. But it's also the quickest I've had a guest on and off. So now what Wendy and I just did is the sort of interview you will see on Cake Tape. When I do my news program at Cake Tape, that's pretty much what's going to be about that length, or a little bit shorter of my interviews, whoever I interview on Cake Tape. Also, I'm almost ready to move the Beast into my studio, having set everything up last night. So I may, in fact, get the Beast set up tonight. That is kind of the plan. And if it is, then we should end little troubles and hiccups with frame rates and streams and stuff like that. It's definitely not my connection. It's a YouTube thing and or a computer thing, because I downloaded 349 or 379 megabytes of data a short while ago in about 2.8 seconds. 379 megabytes of data, a file, a video, in 2.8 seconds. That's some serious fast download speed. That's so when you get buffering or frame rate skips on my program, it's not because of my internet connection, folks. My internet connection is like robust. It is definitely. Hey, Ginaldo Rose, how are you? Your question was good, but there wasn't time to ask Wendy. I apologize for that. Can they serve people in the cars? I'll ask her offline if she's got time. Let her give a chance to answer it, and I'll try to remember to get back to it. Okay, who else we got here? Zed is back. Welcome to you. I support the takeaway restaurants on my budget. Chinese, Indian foods, takeaway. Oh, Indian food. Now you're talking my game. Chicken madras. Even a vindaloo. I can even eat a vindaloo. Debbie Burns is back. I shared your channel. Happy Valentine's Day. Debbie, thank you very much. I appreciate that. The concert's gone, by the way. After the concert video was done with Monty Jackson from this morning, the Valentine's Day concert, what happened was I had, while the video processed, I can't download it because it's processing it. What it does is it compresses it and also does scanning for copyright. I got 9 copyright claims, which are all BS because this was a live performance. It wasn't a band. It wasn't recorded. The artist himself owns the rights to most of those songs, not all of them, and I had the artist's permission. But here's the deal, folks. With YouTube, they screw me and the content creators first. We have to prove it. So what happens is if I go and dispute it, they do 1 copyright claim at a time. So I'd have to do 9 disputes, and you can't do another one until the first one's resolved. They get 30 days to respond. So technically, these 9 copyright disputes for the video that was on this morning could take as long as 9 months, whether I win the dispute or not. So the video is gone. It's not there. I can't even download it. It is on my channel, but I've listed it as private. I put a note on my community tab to let people know it's no longer there. You can, however, go to Monty Jackson Blad, B-L-A-D. That's his Facebook page, and you can see the video there, at least for a few days. He usually takes them down in a few days if you want to watch the video. But yeah, so that was pretty awesome with Monty. He's pretty knackered. I think he's taking a nap right now. I tried to reach him and touch base, but he's taking a nap right now. So yeah, so Monty Jackson was on this morning. It was a wonderful, man, when some of the songs he sang Elvis songs, he sang an Australian performer songs, he sang his own songs. Die Himmelwelt, I love that song. Beautiful stuff. All right, Ethereum, he's got the message. Thank you, Ethereum. Appreciate it. Okay, and Debbie, thank you for sharing my channel. Debbie, I don't know where you're at. Are you here in the U.S.? If you are, please, if you don't mind, let me know. Yeah, I appreciate people sharing the channel because YouTube is not helping of late. Although we have started growing again, it's not like it normally is. By the way, Ronaldo went over 100,000 subscribers last night, apparently, or this morning. He's now at 100,000. Congratulations to Ronaldo. That's brilliant. He started doing this about 13 or 14 years ago, but got serious into it about 3 years ago. And congratulations to him for reaching 100,000 subscribers. That's awesome. He's not dealing with the gremlins that I deal with because he's not really talking much about U.S. politics. He's in South Africa, so they're not going to shadow ban him over that. But congratulations to Ronaldo. That's quite an impressive accomplishment, 100,000. So now he'll finally get that plaque from YouTube as long as he stays above 100,000 long enough for them to recognize it, which should be easy to do. By contrast, he needed about 600 subscribers in the last few days, and he finally got there. And I am seeing good days, 40 to 50 new subscribers. Most days, 40, 50, or 0, or a couple of days losing. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, Ginaldo, I'm over the 21,000 mark. 21,062, I think, was what it was when we started this stream. We've grown a few bit in the past few days. We've grown more in February than we did in December or January, actually, which we're getting back to. But yeah, 21,064 is the current number of subscribers on the channel. But remember, folks, we didn't start doing the daily live streams twice a day until the end of May. So really, June, July, August, September, October. In 5 months, less than 5 months, we went from 500 subscribers to 20,000. And then we kind of, because I was covering U.S. politics, YouTube made me pay the price for it. But anyway, Chad says there's a huge YouTube exploit that you can use to get literally millions of views. Check out Spiffing Brit channel for info. All right, that's interesting, and I will pay attention to that. I don't know what that is. Okay. All right. Yeah, the key is just get the big views. I was getting lots of views. By the way, some of the videos are doing well on the channel of late, so thank you for that, folks. I appreciate it. Really do. Anyway, where are we at here? So Debbie says, prayer for South Africa. Did you tell me where you're at, Debbie? Joe Neiman's back. Make sure you don't have black helicopters. Sometimes I think they are out there. I'm going to guess that Erica had chicken madras for lunch. Lawrence says, I've been thinking South Africa and all its neighbors have been ruled by the same party since independence, majority rule. There's little reason to assume it will change democratically. Yes and no. In Botswana, the Botswana Democratic Party has nearly lost very close once, razor thin, and then was challenged a second time. But yes, but people are angry with the BDP. We'll see what happens in the future. The reason the BDP stays in power is not because, they stayed in power for a long time because they were amazing. They did a great job the early decades. And it was hard to campaign against a party when you're in Botswana and you want to run for office and your argument is, well, we're not the BDP. Okay, well, what did the BDP say? Well, when we inherited this country, there were 16 kilometers of paved road. So 16 kilometers of coal tar road in this country, essentially from Tlokweng border crossing into Gaborone. That was it. The rest of the country didn't have any paved roads. There were 5,000 people living in Gaborone. There was no reservoir for them. There were no clinics, no schools, virtually. There were a few, virtually none. And we were a desperately poor country, one of the poorest countries in the world. So what does the BDP say? Well, listen, everybody's got electricity. We're a middle-income country. We do have wealth disparity, but it's much less than it was at one time. Look at this modern country. So they have a lot to crow about. Now, in the last decade, they don't have so much to crow about, but I'm talking about historically. So if you're an opposition party, you got to come up with an alternative. And the opposition always just says, we're not the BDP. Or when the BDP says the sky is blue, the opposition in Botswana says, no, it's yellow. Well, that's not really helpful. That's not ideas. It's like the DA. We're not the ANC. Well, that's not how you get elected. You get elected with your ideas and your concepts and your policies. Anyway, so so the BDP was nearly defeated a few elections ago. And I think that they may be in jeopardy this next election because people are angry about COVID and about the economy. Debbie says, okay, sorry, I saw that. Hey, Lynn. Etienne Broderick says, I work part-time, use our weekends at a guest house. The owner was there. The owner has 3. We were short on staff and almost no bookings, averaging 9 rooms a day, 31 rooms. It's scary to see. Etienne, I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrific. But this is the African National Congress and their form of governance. That's what's happening to you. By the way, folks, I am wearing a rugby jersey. That's right, because it's 6 Nations today. We got Republic of Ireland playing against France. And so I'm wearing this jersey for Ireland today. This is the road jersey from the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Go Ireland. Not a big fan of Les Bleus, so go Ireland. Let's see what Debbie says. Have not been a fake book twatter. I found you on MeWe, member shared. Yeah, that's why I'm hitting all platforms, Debbie. Thanks a lot for sharing that. I went on MeWe, honestly, because of Hendo. Hendo's one of my moderators, one of those old white guys. He's not an old white guy. He's kind of a young colored guy. But anyway, just as kind of a joke, people know about that way back in the day when the trolls started hitting my channel, when I started having an impact and my subscriber base was growing exponentially in South Africa. The trolls would come on my channel and say, oh, your moderators are rude and they're all old white people. And then we had a Zoom session with my moderators. It turns out half of them are not old white guys. They're colored folks, and they're women. So it was not quite what they people claimed, because of course they didn't know what they're talking about. Ethereum says, I'll buy an HP printer and print my money from now on. Well, Ethereum, if you're going to offer something to the conversation, you want to talk about cryptocurrency, we can do that. But you're just pimping it, dude. If you're just going to pimp it, come on, that's not cool. So Zed says, I make an item you absolutely need: a World Cup braai to keep your braai equipment close. Too expensive to courier. Okay. Yeah, speaking of too expensive courier, they've got the book that's out. You can get from the South African rugby store on the Springboks and their World Cup victory, and the shipping is outrageous, so I'm not getting it. I could probably order it and have it delivered to somebody in South Africa and collect it when I get there next time. That's probably what I'll do. I haven't seen the Pelosi meltdown that you're talking about, John Jarvis, so I don't know what to mention. I know she lost her mind saying the Republicans are cowards because they didn't convict Donald Trump of a crime they had no jurisdiction over and a crime that didn't exist. But she is demonic and needs to be sent home. Jan Hendrik Steeman is back. Hey to you. Okay. And Debbie, I'm glad you found us. By the way, Debbie, I don't know, are you a South African expat? Or are you an American? Because we have all kinds of folks watch this stream, so it kind of helps me out to know what kind of content you're here for. Valerie says, whoops, glad I watched Monty. It was awesome, wasn't it, Valerie? It was awesome. But it's not on my channel because it's been blocked because of the bogus copyright claims, and it'll take forever to dispute them. But I was very concerned. I didn't tell you guys this. I was worried that I would be cut off midstream because he's singing some of these songs. But if you want to watch Monty Jackson, go to his Facebook page. You can watch that video. It was awesome. He put a hell of a performance in, and really awesome. And he basically sings for his works. He sings for his dinner, I should say. He's a musician. There's no income coming in unless people make donations for this. So if you want to donate to Monty Jackson, I no longer have the information because that video is deleted, but I can look it up, or you can just go to his Facebook page if you want to donate to his savings account if you want to do that. Folks were very generous during our stream, and I will be sending Monty, don't tell Monty this, but be sending him some money that came across from the channel, donations that were intended for him during my live stream. Even though my video is gone, the money, the intent was to raise it for Monty. So yeah, for what a great performance. It was amazing. Lawrence says, what did the Democrats try to impeach Trump despite not being president anymore? Because they hate him and they fear him. Let me tell you why they fear him. CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System, the CBS News, the former home of Dan Blather, the fraudulent journalist who faked the news about George Walker Bush, claiming that he was a malingerer and didn't do this and didn't do that, never flew when he was in the National Guard back during the Vietnam War. Turns out that he made the whole story up. It was a fraud. He knew it. And he's still around. People still look at him as some kind of eminent journalist, and he's just a gas bag. But he lied and got away with it. Anyway, that's CBS. So CBS did a poll of registered Republican voters across the country, 2,500 plus voters, and 70% of Republicans polled by CBS, not exactly a conservative outlet, 70% of Republicans polled this week said that before the results of the acquittal, that 70% either would definitely join a party formed by Donald Trump or would consider it strongly. So that's why they want to make sure they can never let him be in office again, because Donald Trump in a legitimate election wins. He wins. No president has ever increased the numerical numbers or percentage of their vote in a subsequent election running for office like Donald Trump did. 61.9 million votes to 75 million votes in the next time. Yes, I know. Joe Biden supposedly got 80 million votes. Sure. Okay. Joe Biden got 80 million votes. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, Pelosi is really just a slime ball. We saw the disgraceful conduct she did when she ripped up official government documents after Trump's State of the Nation address. I can't think of it. It got confusing South African American now. Yeah, anyway, when he gave the annual address, she stood behind him in the chair up there as the Speaker of the House and ripped apart his speech. Did it intentionally, and then tried to play it off like it was the insulting, condescending, vile conduct of this viper from the Bay Area. Yep, Nancy Pelosi, a multimillionaire, but she's only ever been in public service. Please tell me how that happens. I'm not a multimillionaire, and I've only ever been in public service until recently. So how did you do that? I know how she did it. Insider trading, information, access to things, deals, gifts. Yep. Debbie says, great question, Lawrence. What did Lawrence ask? Why did the Democrats try to impeach him? Yeah, that's the answer. They're demonic. Number one, and there's two reasons too. While we're talking about this impeachment, which by the way, they tried a Hail Mary. The prosecution rested their case. The defense put on their case. The defense rested their case Friday night. And then Saturday morning, the prosecution says, excuse me, we would like to introduce witnesses. No. They actually voted on it. 55 members of the Senate said, yes, we should introduce witnesses. And then it was over like, okay, well, we want to, the defense says, okay, we have witnesses too. Well, no, we weren't voting on your witnesses. Well, what were you voting on? You just said you wanted witnesses. Now we're going to let witnesses in. Why did they want that? Because they wanted to stretch it out. Why did they want to stretch it out? Because we were talking about Donald Trump on February 14th. He left office on January 20th. In the meantime, what's happened? Joe Biden works for about 2 hours and 20 minutes every day, while Susan Rice and Barack Obama run this country behind the scenes, the puppet masters, pulling the strings of Sleepy Joe. In the meantime, he signed a flurry of executive actions, executive orders, most of which are unconstitutional, illegal, have no authority whatsoever, but they're implementing them. He is now directing the government to allow 25,000 criminal alien invaders to come into our country from Mexico. Why? They're not even bothering put the veneer of pretending that these are asylum seekers. They're not even saying that. It's okay to bring criminal alien invaders in here to migrate into our country with no basis whatsoever. Because apparently people from Latin America are special. Not Africans, not Arabs, not Central Asians, not Europeans, but Latin Americans should be allowed to just flood across the border at will. But at the same time, Joe Biden, in the logic of the left, is a racist and a xenophobe. Why? Because he came in office and he put a travel ban in. People cannot enter the United States by vehicle from Mexico until February 26th. Law-abiding Mexican citizens and other nationals who are coming to the United States for legitimate business, leisure, school, visit family, cannot come into this country until February 26th, which, most people in Latin America are brown, so that makes Joe Biden, in the logic of Joe Biden, a racist. And he's a xenophobe because the Canadians are First Nations, Native Americans. They are black, just like us. They are white, Anglo-Saxon, just like us, in the same kind of percentages. Oh, there's also Sikhs and Indians and such and Pakistanis. But anyway, generally speaking, it's a similar sort of racial dynamic between the U.S. and Canada, roughly speaking. So he's stopped traffic from Canada as well, which makes him xenophobic. So he's a race. Oh, wait, but I'm not done. He also banned travel to and from South Africa. Last time I checked, 90% of the population of South Africa were people of color, historically disadvantaged people of color. So I guess he's a racist. Nobody's calling Joe Biden a racist except... Now, I'm not really calling him a racist. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy and the lunacy of what the left says when they attack Donald Trump, calling him a racist because he stopped travel from mainland China to the U.S. with the exception of U.S. nationals and green card holders. But no one else can come here. Why? Because it was the epicenter of this outbreak. But using the logic of the left. Debbie, you're on Telegram. Well, Debbie, we have a group on Telegram. We have a group on Telegram for Chris White Africa. We also have an announcement group. And by the way, the Telegram group went over 1,200 today. Let me just take a check here. Sorry, someone was writing a message. So let's go to Telegram. The Chris White Africa announcements group, which only had 74 people 2 days ago, now at 666. Please, Debbie, if you're not a member, join it so we're not stuck on 666. We can't have that, but 666 people currently in the group. And then in the Chris White Africa group, we have 1,210 people, 138 currently online. Look at that, folks. Wow, people are joining. Lots of Anglo-Saxon names. Looks like people from the States are joining here. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so the Telegram group is quite active. Only asked in the Telegram group, you behave yourselves. No bigotry, no racism, no, sexism, none of that stupid stuff. No misogyny, no misandry. We don't like misandry either. People always forget about that, but the abuse of men, misandry is also a problem. We don't like, not on our channel, but people do that. So please don't do that. And then you're welcome to post whatever you like in there, links to other stuff. In the announcements group, that is for you in the receive mode. That's for me to communicate to people who follow the channel about videos upcoming, about other things that have happened, that sort of thing, and news. So that's what that's for. But check it out. And I think that Hendo or Erica can put up the link. Oh, there it is. Hendo's already put up. It's just up there. Awesome Alice is back. They're trying to bankrupt the country. Will social program... Yeah, they're definitely trying to bankrupt the country. Debbie says, Sleepy Joe is trying to ban flights into Florida. Oh, yes, I saw that. Not only is he a xenophobe and a racist, he's a friggin' anti-Americanist. He wants to stop people. By the way, Florida, nobody's wearing masks. Unless they want to wear a mask. Nobody's shut down. And the rates of COVID are far less than New York or California, where people are basically prisoners. Wow. Strange how that works. Chad wants to know my thoughts on Mitt Romney. Well, my thoughts about Mitt Romney are not for polite company. Mitt Romney is a political opportunist. He's a slimeball, deep state guy, and he's a disgrace. He's a disgrace. Now, as a businessman, he saved the Salt Lake Winter Olympics and did a brilliant job. At Bain Capital, he made a fortune for his company and his investors, so well done. But as a presidential candidate, he was a cowardly little eunuch who failed to point out Barack Obama's lies and his fraud and allowed himself to be the object of ridicule by simply taking it instead of stating facts. And he basically threw the election for Barack Obama. It's disgraceful. Then ran for the Senate in a state he's not even from, Utah, like a carpetbagger, just like Hillary Clinton, who's not from New York, did in New York, and got elected because he's a Mormon. Well, you Mormons in Utah, I'm very disappointed in you. This guy is not a legitimate legislator, and he is a jackass. And he has been undermining our country since the day he entered the Senate. And I do hope you turf him out as soon as you get a chance. Pelosi will be an excellent head witch for the Roald Dahl Witches movie, Deranged Men and just... Oh, my goodness. Sorry, I'm choking up over that one. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Ethereum says that the impeachment was a genius ploy by the Dems. They're going to gain the moderate Republicans. 2/3 majority are impossible. I'll bet you're 350 Sasa. No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Moderate Republicans, really. Who are these moderate Republicans? 70% of registered Republicans support Trump in a new party. He has a 94% approval rating within the Republican Party, despite all this fiction over impeachment. So yeah, the moderate Republicans. You're talking about permanent political class. Yeah, permanent political class doesn't support Trump, but they're not going to make it without us. Oh, you're in Florida, Debbie. Okay, cool. Well, soon you'll be a foreign country. I'll need a passport to enter Florida, which means I'll go to Florida just for that reason, just to piss off the leftists. I'm not a big fan of Florida. I've mentioned this famously before. I mean, I can't take a state seriously, but the highest elevation is a landfill. Too many bugs, too much heat. And but I do like the Cuban culture of Miami. That's pretty cool. I'm not a Miami fan, but when I've been to Miami down there doing official business and also as a tourist a couple of times passing through there, I enjoyed the Cuban culture, the Cuban restaurants, the music, the vibe. But, it'd be just as cool if I could go to Cuba and it wasn't controlled by the communists and rather experiencing Cuba instead of in Miami. But nonetheless, it is a part of Miami now, so that's kind of interesting. I have cousins that live in the Tampa area and run fish businesses, and so been down there a bit. Brett's here. Hey, running errands. Okay, cool, Brett. Thanks for popping in. Awesome. Alice says, people in my area don't wear masks, but I think it's because we live in a rural area. Could be. Florida's my favorite state, says Brett Sessom. Says the Mississippian, Florida's my favorite state. Well, my favorite state, that's a tough one. I like different places for different reasons. I enjoyed living in Iowa, but it's like mind-numbingly boring, but I enjoyed living in Iowa. It's peaceful and quiet. Brutal winters. I love Wyoming, one of my favorite places. I used to like Colorado, but it's lost its freaking mind with this obsession with marijuana and the pull to the left. Big mistakes. Colorado's got a lot of problems now. New Mexico is beautiful, but it's run by Democrats who've lost their mind. So, Arizona is beautiful, but too hot. But I do like the Chiricahua Mountains down south. Quite lovely. Do you think Putin is a good leader? Yeah, he is. He's an effective leader. But he's not effective at growing his economy, and that's probably something that needs to be done. And no, I didn't sell biltong in New Zealand. I ate my biltong from South Africa and from Botswana in New Zealand. Debbie says, us patriots love our Constitution. We're tired of the evil elites trampling upon. Well, Debbie, how do you think I feel? 36 and a half years in uniform, enlisted as a private, became a non-commissioned officer, served during the Cold War in Europe, served in the Ohio National Guard for 2 years, returned to active duty as a commissioned officer in military intelligence, spent 30 years in uniform as a commissioned officer, retired as a full colonel. I served 23 of my 36 years in uniform overseas. Served in combat, peacekeeping. I did overseas tours, not combat, but those also, but overseas permanent assignments 3 times in Germany, in Bad Kreuznach, in Hanau, Gelnhausen, and then eventually in Stuttgart. A tour in Italy. Plus, I was stationed in Tunisia, Liberia, Botswana, Malawi, Niger, Mauritania, Uganda, and Ethiopia and Africa. And how do you think I feel when I see these slime balls who can't even read the Constitution holding a sham political trial as if we're in the Soviet Union? Or watching the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone be formed last year and officials do nothing about it. Insurrection? Coup? Yeah, it's called the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Chaz. Those clowns declared an independent country. They should have been led away in leg irons and be tried and imprisoned now for their conduct. They betrayed the country and they have no rights to citizenship in this country. Anyone who participated in Chaz. They should be prosecuted for sedition and treason against the United States. And you can only convict the person of treason if you have 2 eyewitnesses. We have lots of eyewitnesses to this treason and lots of faces and names to go along with it, plus video evidence of it. The people who formed the Chaz Autonomous Zone in Seattle last year are criminals. They're anti-American slimeballs, and they have no right to walk the streets of our country free. There you go. We have a president actively undermining our national security, both economically and politically, and from a physical security standpoint. So that's more than both. That's more like 3 ways. Yep. Ginaldo says, I still wonder, since when did politics become a professional sport for politicians to garner celebrity status and get paid by sitting on the sideline and tell people what to do? It's been that way for decades. Awesome Alice says, now you sound like my dad. He calls the Congress and read the Constitution to them and say, you've forgotten. You've forgotten. Let me remind you. Well, your dad's right. Your dad's right. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Yep. Americans always got the best parts of Germany. Compared to the Brits, yes. They were up in Paderborn and places like that. We had Bavaria and we had Baden-Württemberg. Those are the best parts of Germany to be as troops. Absolutely. Unfortunately, I never was stationed in Bavaria. I was stationed in Baden-Württemberg in the end in Stuttgart. But there you go. Hank Butta says deep state is just modern meaning for the mafia. Ooh. Interesting approach to it. And Lynn's got a bad signal. Sorry to hear that, Lynn. Okay. Alice says, I was born in Augsburg. You were born in Augsburg. Awesome. I've been to Augsburg many, many times. Many times. In fact, the first time I ever went there was when one of the soldiers in my unit had gotten in a horrific accident and had run her car into the back of a truck. And a rod had come out, and she lost an eye, and it was a real mess. A big chunk came out of her forehead. Ugh. So I was sent down there in a tactical vehicle to deal with the situation with the military police who were based in Augsburg and sort this out between them and the Polizei because I spoke German. So I went down there, and it was quite an interesting trip. They didn't give me enough coupons for fuel. I barely got back. So I was very, very stupid of them. They presumed I could get fuel, but I couldn't get fuel in a couple places. So anyway, that was a long time ago. It was like 1985, 86, maybe that was. Yep. Debbie says, thank you for your service, Chris. My dad served Vietnam. My brother's 2 sons are vets. Well, that's awesome. I was in the Gulf conflict and a few other combat roles that really can't talk about. Also Bosnia and Kosovo campaigns as well. Okay, so Lawrence someone always disagrees with me on marijuana. With your marijuana. In fact, I will go as far as to say we should legalize all drugs. The government has no right to say what I can put in my body and not. Yeah, well, see, the problem with that statement, Lawrence, is that it's very libertarian and it's also very wrong. What's the point of having a government if the government can't protect us from dangerous substances? So, Lawrence, alcohol and drugs lead to poor decisions, gender-based violence, domestic spousal abuse, incest, drunken driving, homicides. So your next argument is going to be, but people use it responsibly. Well, yeah, that's an argument you can have. And that's the argument people get away with for alcohol. That people drink responsibly, they're not the problem. It's just the outliers. But the problem with marijuana is it's not the outliers. It's the majority of people who use this stuff. Use it irresponsibly and dangerously. And we've seen a huge uptick in intoxicated driving by people smoking marijuana in places where recreational use is now legal, like Colorado. Yeah, we can disagree on that. And those with the political power will change the laws. But I have seen the impact of this drug, and I have seen what it has done to people, and I don't think it should be legalized. So, Lawrence, your libertarian streak there would give the impression that there should be no constraints on it. So would you be in favor of 10-year-olds shooting up with heroin? And before someone says that's ridiculous, it's not. It's not. It's not ridiculous. Morphine is derived from that. Morphine is a painkiller. So should people be allowed to shoot up with morphine? The state has a responsibility to protect the society, not from a paternalistic standpoint, but from a serious, legitimate standpoint. I mean, it's like stock trading. If there were no rules and people didn't enforce rules, then anybody who was connected to somebody could get all the information, buy stocks, watch the price get jacked up, and sell it before a disaster, which is called insider trading. It's a crime. But without rules, Anybody can do that. And the little guy would get screwed all the time. If there was no law enforcement and people could smoke and drink whatever they wanted to become intoxicated and get behind the wheel of a dangerous vehicle and commit manslaughter at will, what's the point of society? We create governments, polities, a body politic. We create governments, or our forefathers did, to ensure domestic tranquility and safety. Not from a paternalistic standpoint, which is what the left likes, but from a societal standpoint. That's why we have governments. You can legalize and still get a DUI. Yeah, Awesome Alice. Yes and no. Not all jurisdictions have sorted that out yet. Morning glory helped me overcome social anxiety. Well, I don't doubt that at all, Lawrence, and that's congratulations that marijuana helped you with a medical condition. With a medical condition, social anxiety. I'm sorry to hear you had social anxiety, man. I'm happy they did help you overcome it. But medical use, medicinal use is very different than making it legal. Making it legal means I can walk down the street and buy it. Go to the tuck shop or the spaza or the petrol station and buy it. And that's a very dangerous situation in my view. And we've seen all kinds of problems associated with it in Colorado. And they're like, ooh, look, it's brought in $1 billion. So fracking will bring in $15 billion. You're going to frack the entire state? You're trying to stop us from fracking. It brings a hell of a lot more money in than weed does. Ben Putgit is back. Good to see you again. Yeah, and Roy Hayes, the pot out there is way too potent. Yeah, that's the other thing people forget about. It's been cultivated, it's been developed, and so it's very potent, very strong today compared to what it was, say, when I was a kid. I never smoked the stuff. I'd never done an illicit drug in my lifetime, and I intend never to do that. I have no interest in it. So, just a full disclosure, you're having a conversation with a person who detests illicit substances and also detests alcohol abuse. I don't like drunks, either mean or happy drunks. I don't like drunks. People that can't hold their liquor, that's a problem because they cause problems, danger to others. So, anyway, I don't make moral judgments about that. I'm just saying I don't like it. So. But, if you were to ask me about medicinal use, if there's legitimate uses for marijuana, then fine, if that's what the medical community says. Absolutely. My mother apparently had medical marijuana to help her with her cancer. Apparently it did help. So, anyway. Light Rain says, pot makes you slow, dumb, forgetful, and easy to manipulate. It makes you happy with mediocrity. Exactly. And so people stumble through their late teens and early 20s with little ambition and little desire, those who are serious into this. And, you waste a critical decade. They should make it legal for medical reasons. Nothing works better for my insomnia and social anxiety, but illegal in Botswana, unfortunately. Yep. Ben, you're welcome. Ben, I think you'll find that I do my best to address and point people out as much as possible. On the channel. I had one of my paid members a couple of days ago stomp off and say, well, you're ignoring me. No, he never put an @ symbol to identify me in the chat. He just said Chris and then went on. I don't see that. You have to put the @ symbol. Otherwise, I don't see it. I can't catch everything. In your case, you didn't. I saw you, Ben, and I hadn't seen you in a bit, so I said hey to you. So it's my pleasure to see you again, Ben. And there's Light Rain once more. I don't like weed. I have a fear of heights. Interesting. Sylvester says, I've done Mary J and hated it, but even though me and my friends use it responsibly, never driving, we met a lot of people who didn't. Yes. You also meet people who are very responsible. As I told this anecdotal story about walking on the strip in Las Vegas, and this black guy was smoking weed. And he blew it all over me. And so I stopped and I walked around him to go around him. Now, I didn't get accused of being a racist because I was walking around a black guy. He wanted to give me crap because, hey, what's your problem? I said, I wasn't talking to you. Yeah, what's your deal? I said, well, you're smoking marijuana. Yeah, it's legal. No, it's not. It's not legal to smoke it on the strip. You can smoke it in your home. It's not legal. Well, I'll smoke it where I want. I said, yeah, with these children out here walking, with people who take drug tests for their employers, and you're smoking in public. Anyway, and that's not a single incident that's happened. It's happened so many times. Anything mind-altering use for recreational purposes, I'm sure is not good for you. Drugs aren't the problem. Drug abuse is the problem. Oops. Okay, hang on, folks. I'll be back in a second. There we go. I'm back. Sorry about that. It timed out on me. Yeah. So morning glory is a psychotropic, not a marijuana. Yeah, Lawrence, I got that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, well, LSD is a psychotropic too. Lysergic acid. Anything mind? Okay. Awesome Alice says, I used to drink, but I've been sober 4 years now. Found out I'm allergic to it. Broke out in rashes. Thought it helped my PTSD, but it made it worse. No, it doesn't. Doesn't help PTSD. Alice, I'm not going to ask you about your PTSD because I can only imagine what happened. I don't know if you're a soldier or if something happened to you in your personal life. PTSD is a tough thing. So I'm glad that it sounds like you're dealing with it. So that's good. So that's that. You used to mostly break writer's block and deal with, okay, well, I mean, it's, lots of musicians use drugs to help them come up with bizarre lyrics or good lyrics. So yeah, I get that. Chad says, now with the Dems in power, do you think the Sinaloa cartel is gearing up for exploitation of weakened U.S. border? Oh, absolutely. As are the human traffickers are ready to start sending sex slaves back into America, indentured labor and so on. We will see the fentanyl pick up demonstrably coming through Mexico. Absolutely. Biden is single-handedly destroying America's security. 50,000 Americans are dying from fentanyl overdoses every year, and all of this filth is coming from China. Fentanyl didn't even exist in this country. You go back 10, 15 years ago. Yeah. China. They're responsible for all the fentanyl in this country. It's horrific, folks. It's horrific. Let's get off the weed conversation, although the crowd seems to be growing, so maybe people like to talk about it. 74 likes, 85 currently watching. Come on, smash the like button, folks. Let's see what we can do on that and get it up there. Opioids is a legal drug, and Americans are suffering from the after effects. Yes, Ginaldo, what's your point? Why are they suffering? Do you know why the opioid crisis is happening in America? Because these highly addictive substances were overprescribed by physicians who couldn't be bothered to do proper medical care for people and oversubscribed it. And people became addicted to it. And it's so much cheaper than heroin. Opioids. So Congress made it too easy for people to have access to this stuff. 2 dislikes. Piss off, you hate wankers. Made it too easy. And then they ignored it. And then they got into the marketplace. And anyway, not the marketplace. They got into the issue and they screwed things up once again. Ben, I'm sorry. There's a super chat there. I had it turned off because we had the concert on. Let me turn it back on. There we go. So Ben Putkeeter just gave a 35 Rand super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat, Ben. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I don't want to get started on the whole opioid thing. Donald Trump addressed the opioid crisis before he came in office. He tried to deal with it in office. It is a situation created by the medical community, exacerbated by Congress. Then congressional neglect. Then Congress got involved and made the situation worse. Anyway, it's unbelievable. What they did is Congress, this is a dangerous drug. So they tried to just stop people from even issuing it, leaving people addicted to an opioid, and they turned to heroin because they couldn't get these drugs, or they broke into it's this whole opioid thing is an artificially created addiction crisis that was unnecessary. Yes, people like Brett Favre, a football player taking painkillers, got addicted to it, and many people get addicted to it in that fashion. But that's because of the willy-nilly fashion that doctors were handing them out like bubble gum in the early days. So this is an artificially created crisis, an addiction crisis that was unnecessary. Very few people should be addicted to opioids. Very few. But Congress and the medical community have let us down. Absolutely. 47 watching and 38 likes. Oh, if you're way behind, man, it's 93 currently watching, 87 likes. So your data is a little bit behind. You have Dominion data. That's what you have. You have Dominion data. How did you get that Dominion data? You don't get addicted to Zoll. Okay. That's not true either. Marijuana is, in fact, addictive, despite the fairy tale it's not. Lea Vinyanza von Lensburg says, I tried weed once, didn't have a good reaction, so I decided rather be addicted to life. I like that statement. Awesome, Alice. Well, here's my take on it. I mean, unless you have a medical condition, if you're taking drugs, why? Isn't life interesting and appealing enough? You need drugs to get through it? Not criticizing, I'm just asking the question. People go to parties. Here, man, here. Shoot this, snort this, smoke this. Why? Wasn't the party entertaining enough for you? Couldn't you find somebody to chat up without getting high? I'm just saying. Beth says we were pushed very hard to examine the pain levels to justify painkillers by the American Medical Association. Yeah, that's true. Awesome Alice just gave away her age. Shh, don't tell anybody, folks. Don't tell anybody. She says she had to learn to cope with her PTSD with writing and exercise. Well, that's awesome. Exercise is always good. Always good. As long as you're capable of exercising, it's good stuff, folks. Did I miss something else from Awesome Alice? By the way, it's a cool username. I love that. Awesome Alice. That's well done. I walk past psychedelic plants and mushrooms simply by going for a few mile walk. Heroin, especially black tar, is cheaper as opioid. That's exactly. Prescription opioids for pain killing. People get addicted to them, and then heroin is cheap. And that's why we had a heroin crisis explosion in this country, too. Absolutely the case. Any drug that gives you endorphin boost is addictive. Exercise gives me an endorphin boost. It does, actually. FDA is dodgy. I would not disagree with that. Debbie says a lot are suffering from being led by their leashes, but the radical left and fake news out there instead of thinking for yourself and doing research. Well, then, Debbie, you're going to appreciate this on this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, should we make this available for Debbie? She's new to the channel, so we need to let her know about this. Ladies and gentlemen, as Chris White Africa has told you for ages, you must avoid the following. Leftists. These days, Democrats too. But don't be. Yes, beer is a drug, acid cell. Here come the sheep. You're right, Ginaldo. You called it. Spot on. Don't be sheeple. By the way, Debbie, I don't pimp my merch very often, but we do have sheeple merchandise on Chris White Africa Teespring page if you want to check it out. So you can get the Don't Be Sheeple. Notice that the lead sheep is chewing on a mask. We've got the bald sheep, we've got the lady sheep, we've got the lead sheep chewing on his mask. Yes, anything can be addictive. Porn can be addictive. Sex can be addictive. Sports can be addictive. People overdo things in every aspect of life. And beer is a drug. You're correct, Acid Zill. That's correct. Yep. Anyway, we let the sheep out. Who let the sheep out now? Ben says, what's your take on DMT, the spirit molecule? Is that that dichloramethyl something? Is that what you're talking about? Acid Zill says, I talk less when I'm high. Well, if I'm drunk, I talk more. So imagine what that's like. I talk enough now. Yep. Light Rain says, the Sackler family through Purdue Pharma sent tens of millions of doses of OxyContin to Appalachia beyond medical need in what could be only described as a chemical attack. Light Rain, that's a hard point to argue against. You have a fair... Oh, Hendo's just put up the link to my merch page. There you go. If you want to buy merchandise from Indaba Africa or Chris White Africa, including the Sheeple merchandise is up there. Thanks, Hendo, for putting it up. I appreciate that. Haven't sold any merch in a while because I never pimp the stuff. I forget to talk about it because it's not really all about the merch. But since Debbie talked about being sheep, there you go. We have too many sheep. So I should have a beer and Zal. Listen, Acid Zill, I mean, the name that you used, already made me think you were probably, a fond fan of LSD to begin with. So Robert Zede says it's amazing how people can get programmed like face masks, COVID-19 vaccines, lockdowns. It is. It is. It's fascinating how people responsible for these things look the other way and don't pay attention. By the way, folks, you're listening to Chris White Africa here on the Indaba Africa channel, part of the Indaba Broadcasting Network on a Sunday, the 14th of February, which makes it Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there. If you've got a beau or a boo, happy Valentine's Day to them as well. Hopefully you have a chance to patronize a restaurant or a pub or something like that to keep businesses afloat if you have the resources. 4 dislikes. Man, hate wanks are coming out of the woodwork now. You put the spit on Zal. That's right. You see, when people Zal, they put the saliva on the paper. And when people Zal, they share that Zal. For my American audience, Zol is a colloquialism, which means to smoke weed, essentially, or daga, which is a form of weed. Anyway, so when people Zol, that's a colloquial usage in South Africa talking about smoking weed. So when they roll their own weed, they're called Zolling. I will check that merchandise out. Love the sheep eating the mask. Oh, it was brilliant. Was brilliant, huh? Now, I can't take credit for that. One of my viewers created for that, gave it to me, gave me the rights, so it was very kind of my viewer. I appreciate that. But I haven't talked to that viewer in a while. Shame. Puff, puff, pass. There you go. The hip-hop Vax video by Run DMC seemed they're trying to program the black community through cartoons. Oh, yeah. It's all over the place. They're trying to program people through all sorts of things. So we have a virus that kills 0.2% of the people exposed to it. And 85% of the people who die from it have underlying immunocompromised systems. This is irrefutable. This is known, despite the lies of Dr. Tedros, who's not a medical doctor, by the way, and the Chinese Communist Party in January of 2020, telling us that it was a fatality rate of 4.35%. And you couldn't give it to your pets. Don't wear a mask, Dr. Fauci told us, because it doesn't work. Remember all that stuff? Yeah. And we need 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then we'll go back to normal. 2 weeks. 300 and some days later, here we are. Yeah, Colleen says, hey, Colleen, you were here for the Monty Jackson concert before it got blocked after I was done. What'd you think? That was pretty awesome, huh? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. And Dr. Fauci. No, he's Dr. Fraud. I have lots of comments to talk about. Dr. Blix, Dr. Blixen, Donner and Blixen. We have Dr. Fraud. We have El Duce, Tom Wolf, the governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have the Grim Reaper of Albany. Woo! What about that story, folks? You see my videos on that? I've done a few videos in the last few days. Wow. First off, let's just run through it again in case anybody's missed it and you're not up to date. Last year, Andrew Cuomo, the arrogant, totalitarian fascist governor of the state of New York from a political family, Governor Cuomo, because his father Mario was also there back in the day. Andrew Cuomo signed an executive order directing nursing homes, forcing the nursing homes, and I don't even know if it's legal for him to do this, to take COVID positive patients and recovering COVID patients into nursing homes. Between 6,300 and 9,000 COVID positive people were put back into nursing homes last year. This was exposed on the 26th of March, the day after the order came out, by a hospital administrator on the Mark Levin radio program. And Mark Levin was gobsmacked. He's like, why are they putting COVID people amongst those most vulnerable? They also stopped you from visiting your family members in nursing homes to protect them. And it's still a restriction in place in much of New York. And on top of that, they sent these people back. Then they've only reported 8,700 deaths in nursing homes. I say only, but there are only 90,000 people in New York's 600 plus nursing homes. 90,000. So that already is nearly 10% death rate. Now, it's understandable it's much higher than general population because you have elderly people, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, who have weakened immune systems. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cancer, all sorts of things. And so it's not surprising they have a higher death rate, but 9%? Woo, that's off the charts. But that's not even the truth. The media ignored it when Mark Levin exposed it in March. They got away with it. And it wasn't until May, after thousands of people had died as a consequence of Andrew Cuomo's unscientific, witchcraft-driven decision. My science advisors. Who are your science advisors? Bill Nye, the science guy? He doesn't have a science degree, by the way. Is that your science team? Is that how you make decisions? Do you watch the Big Bang Theory and go, that's the answer? Raj told me. That must be the answer. He's an astrophysicist. So this is what we'll do. We will take COVID positive patients and put them in the places with the most vulnerable people. That's what we'll do. That sounds like a brilliant plan. My science advisors and I. Well, Andrew Cuomo did that. The press finally exposed it in May. Guess what? The whole time Cuomo goes on TV, Donald Trump won't give us ventilators. The federal government's screwing us. No, the epicenter of the virus in this country with over 40,000 deaths, New York, exacerbated by their intentional actions, entirely preventable. Entirely preventable. But the media didn't lose their mind. No one reported on this. It's Donald Trump's fault. It's Donald Trump's fault. No, it's not. But they got away with it. While Cuomo spewed this. And then his lackey brother, Chris Cuomo, who actually had COVID and spread all over his luxury apartment building, endangering all the residents there, despite his landlord telling him to stop using the gymnasium, to stop using the front door, and stop walking around the building without a mask while you're COVID positive. He did all this while lecturing to us and using his platform to promote his brother, who wrote a book in the midst of this crisis about leadership in a crisis. But that didn't matter to the media. Only now, when they don't need him anymore. When they cannot come back from this, when the secretary to the governor, Melissa DeRosa, in a private video teleconference call with Democratic legislators from the New York legislature, said, listen, we apologize. We misled you. And they're like, what do you mean you misled us? Well, when the Department of Justice on the 26th of October opened a probe into New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and California for the nursing home situation, because we put people in nursing homes and people died, when that happened, we froze. We didn't know what to do. We had to hide the information from the Department of Justice. Why would you hide it unless you're criminally culpable, which is what they apparently are? Well, someone, thankfully, is a decent human being and recorded this, and the audio is available. So they've been caught red-handed. But there's no snowball's chance in hell that the Department of Justice now, under the feckless, illegitimate President Joe Biden, is going to bother to investigate this any further. We barely did anything under William Barr. So definitely not going to do under Joe Biden. So they'll get away with it. Unless the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, who clearly may have some political ambitions, because she's the one who helped expose this a few weeks ago with her investigation into the underreporting of deaths in nursing homes. Maybe with she has political ambitions, she'll go for the throat of Andrew Cuomo. Someone should go for the throat. No, that's not inciting insurrection or domestic terrorism. Going for the throat is a euphemism for taking someone on, okay? Just so we're clear on that, leftists and Democrats. I don't want you to be confused by that terminology. It's words less inflammatory than Maxine Waters. Tommy Kutsia, hey, welcome to you. Vernon Nylog is back. Good to see you again. Vexog Schlagsog, they're trying to get euthanasia into laws that, oh my God. Well, no, some people cynically said the reason they did this in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York was to get rid of the elderly, to cut down on the Medicare bills. I have no idea if that's true. We're not talking about millions of people, so how much money you can save. But yeah, you can't trust them with anything. So it's not a surprise people came up with that idea. Cuomo should be in jail, says Robert. Well, I do not disagree. Both of them should be. Yep. Vernon, I just talked about that. They forced them to be in. They didn't let the COVID patients. They forced them to take them. They didn't have a choice. If you get some time, watch Songbird. It talks about COVID-23. Okay? Thank you. Awesome, Alice. What else did I miss here? Nipple pierced. People are on that. Can't take that clown seriously. On drugs, if you're not smart enough to manufacture and use substances responsibly while hiding it from the authorities, employers, and family, you're not smart enough to do drugs. Most aren't. My wife asked me the other day, and I was stumped, if we can get the COVID virus from animals, how come we can't give it to them? We can. We can. That was the story they told us in March last year when people were asking about their pets. It's okay. You can't get it from them. You can't give it to them. And then in June, we found out, in fact, you can get it from and give it to your pets. Now, here's the thing. How do they know that without any research? This is a zoonotic virus. In other words, it leaps from species to species. So how would they know whether it could leap to dogs and cats and back and forth without any data? They didn't have any data. Just like right now when the CDC is now saying that if you've had the second dose of the vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask. You've not done these clinical trials for any period of time. You don't really know. Where are you getting this data from? You're just making it up. South Africa loses the T20 series. What's that about, John? Cuomo did the same as the governor in Italy. Deaths in Italy and New York were used to justify the global lockdowns. Numbers from China were low. Relatively speaking, yes, China had reported 83,000 deaths. So, yeah, that's relatively low. Yep. Or was it 83,000 cases? Not 83,000 deaths. Did Marjorie Taylor Greene actually believe in Jewish space lasers? I have no idea what you're talking about. Came from bats, so it's a new strain of SARS. Yeah, it is. It's from the SARS family. It's a coronavirus, exactly. Don't you think the Black Lives Matter was a big contributor to today's COVID numbers? Of course it was, Tommy, and I said so at the time. I said, because here's the deal. Here in Harrisburg, just down the road, the state capital of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, when the governor imposed his lockdown on the 29th, well, he did it before the 29th, but it took place in this county on the 29th of March. He started with Philadelphia and Allegheny and went from there. But it extended to us by the 29th of March. Already in April, there were people, patriots, going to Harrisburg to protest. Some driving by in their cars, honking their horns with signs hanging out the window. Others walking on the street. Some wearing masks before we were even told we could wear masks or should wear masks. Some not. Most social distancing, some not. They were called criminals by the governor and accused of spreading the virus by the governor. Yet when the black supremacy group Black Lives Matter used domestic terrorism to burn and loot stores and police stations in Minneapolis and Portland and Seattle and Atlanta and D.C. and New York. 1,200 so-called medical practitioners came out with an open letter, which was put in national newspapers, saying that, well, it's okay. This isn't like the white supremacists, who weren't all white, by the way, white supremacists who are protesting against legitimate government action to stop the spread of the virus. No, they were wrong. This is because they're protesting injustice, and so it's okay. Well, the virus doesn't know what an injustice is, a perceived injustice, so it's just as effective. Yes, that was the super spreader events, Atlanta, Seattle, Portland, and they tried to blame it on college students on spring break. Oh, spring break students are all selfish. They're spreading the virus. Yeah, the selective reasoning of the left is something to behold. Ginaldo Rose says, what got you interested in studying epidemiology? That's a good question, Ginaldo, and I'll tell you exactly what it was. HIV. Back in the 1980s, I was astounded by what was going on, HIV, and I was watching what was happening, and I became interested in HIV. And then from that, because as a student of history, I knew about the bubonic plague, the Black Plague, and about malaria. And so I just got really interested. When I learned that malaria is why Canada is not part of the United States, I was like, wow. Or not malaria, smallpox, excuse me. I said malaria, smallpox. Smallpox is the reason Canada is not part of the United States, because smallpox eviscerated our invasion army twice. And the Canadians were able to hold out because our army was too weak to fight. I really got interested. So I started paying attention to it. And then in the early 1990s, a number of books came out, one by C.J. Peters, a doctor at USAMR, the United States Army Medical Research Directorate in Frederick, Maryland, Fort Detrick. So I got into that, CDC. And then Outbreak came out later on with Dustin Hoffman, which was, it had a lot of problems, scientifically, but it was a fascinating movie. That just kind of spiraled, and I read everything I could find on it. For those of you who've been with me for a long time, you saw me do a stream early last year, in which I talked about epidemiology and my interest in it, and I brought a selection of my books. I went through like 40 books, didn't I? Showed all these different books that I have, and I followed it for decades now. It's something I've had a great interest in. I always kind of, as an intelligence officer, kind of hoped maybe I could go to USAMR to be an intel officer there and then travel to the Ebola region in the Congo and, hunt down Ebola virus and, and Lassa fever and Marburg and all these things. It would have been cool. So that's what got me into it. Good question, Ginaldo Rose. But I did share that previously on that stream. 95 likes now. Thank you, guys. Keep pushing it there. We're at 90 people currently watching the program. I hope you're all having a wonderful Thanksgiving, a Valentine's Day. We've been busy today with a early morning stream, early afternoon in South Africa with Monty Jackson. Unfortunately, if you missed that concert, you've just missed out on it because 9 copyright claims. It'll take forever to dispute those. So the video is private now. You can't see it. I can't even download it. I can watch it, but I can't download it. But you can still watch Monty Jackson's Valentine's Day concert by going to his Facebook page, Monty Jackson Blad. BLAD on Facebook. You'll find him. That's the one, the only, the original. And you can watch that video at least for the next couple of days probably and check it out. And then we did a program. No, this is the second stream. Wow. Yeah, gosh, it's been that kind of day. This is my second stream. We started this stream out talking to Wendy Alberts, the Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa. And now we're just kind of riffing on topics. Now we're suddenly talking about epidemiology, which is cool. I love that. Magda says, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you, Magda. Can the Dems open a criminal case against Trump for the enticement of violence since they were unsuccessful in the impeachment case? They alluded to something like that yesterday. Yes, there always could have been a criminal case filed in the District of Columbia or by a federal court if it's a federal violation. But inciting violence, I don't think is a federal violation. It's certainly a violation of state and locality laws, but there's no merit to it. That's why they wanted the political solution of an impeachment to tarnish his reputation. The only president ever impeached twice. By the way, both impeachments were illegitimate, ill-founded. The first impeachment didn't even include a crime. Donald Trump was impeached last year without a crime. You can only impeach someone on high crimes or misdemeanors. There wasn't a single crime charged in there. They just didn't like Donald Trump. And they claimed that his foreign policy was wrong. So on the basis of a political difference, they used the ultimate nuclear option and went for impeachment, which had no merit. He didn't even commit a crime. He wasn't even accused of a crime and he was impeached. So when they say that Donald Trump was impeached twice, it doesn't mean anything. It just shows you how useless the Democrats are and how fraudulent they are. That's the bottom line. That's what says more about them than it does about Trump. Why didn't we need vaccines for, well, actually, they tried to work on a vaccine for COVID, the first couple SARS and all these other things. They tried to work on it. Yeah. And they've tried to work on a vaccine for Ebola. And they've been working on a vaccine for malaria for decades. Excuse me. Vaccines can be tricky. Vaxxoy Sloxoy says Hitler took eugenics from America. Many don't know this. Well, we had people that definitely thought along those lines. We had Margaret Sanger, the founder of the Planned Parenthood movement, who believed in abortions for blacks to eliminate blacks from our population. She definitely believed in it. Awesome Alice, they did a case study paper in 2018 on SARS and other strains, even said that it would come from bats, and Wuhan, they were studying the bat strains. Yeah, that's true. Well, actually, Schlockzeug, I just said that. Planned Parenthood is eugenics, essentially. Yep. Funny, when Biden was installed as president, the Dems were celebrating. Therefore, it wasn't super. Exactly. Yeah. Well, they weren't calling super spread events when these domestic terrorist and insurrection events were going on around the country. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted in 2018 and posted on her Facebook profile that the California fires were caused by Jewish space lasers. I've never seen that. Do you have a screen capture of it? Or are you repeating what somebody said? We also heard the media tell us that Donald Trump said they were very fine people on both sides and he's a racist because he supported neo-Nazis and white supremacists. Only that's not what happened. In the same breath, before even inhaled again, he condemned neo-Nazis and white supremacists. But you'll never see that unless you watch the impeachment trial in the defense, when finally, after 4 years, you see the video, which has been suppressed by the social tech media giants and the mainstream media, lying, as well as Democrats lying about the president over and over and over and over and over. So I need to see the screen capture from the verified account of Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been accused of saying some outlandish things and being a supporter of LMNOP Anonymous. I don't know that she is. I've only heard of her recently and then started following her potential rise about 9 months ago now, and asked her to come on my channel, but never got a response. So I don't know these claims about her. She apologized for some of the things she believed in the past, but if she believed them, why should she apologize? If she's a nutter, that's another story. Yes, Vernon, the spring break was the exact same thing as blaming the rage events for the Matrix. Exactly right. But funny how life in the townships continued unchanged after the police murdered Collins Kosa and about 11, sorry, my nose is really itching, and about another 11 other black South Africans. Once they murdered them, they pulled out of the townships and people went about their business. It was as if there was never any COVID. That wasn't a super spread event? Of course it was. How do you think we got this Azania strain of the Wuhan coronavirus? The Azania strain. Awesome, Alice. Remember when Biden said it's going to be a dark winter? Same scene that before there was Operation Dark Winter had to do a smallpox outbreak. Smallpox? Who had smallpox in 2001? Smallpox is eradicated. You might not be able to download the private video. However, you might be able to live stream the video, private video, and get a second strike. Why would I want to get a second strike on my channel? Are you trying to get rid of me, Ginaldo? And no, I can't. I could play it on the screen and then put a camera in front of it, but it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to do that. Well, in the modern day, you scratch your head the wrong way and you're breaking one of our laws. Yep. Hands coffee to Chris Wyatt. Thank you, Debbie. Last year's impeachment didn't get rid of Trump. These dumb Dems keep on bumping their heads against the wall. That's stupid. No, it's not stupid. They have an objective. They're raising money and they're accomplishing things. They managed to install Joe Biden as president, so they accomplished something. That's what they wanted to do by attacking Trump endlessly. Media cherry picks what supports their master Soros. Yep. Vernon says exactly the townships was normal, hence they built up herd immunity and not as affected as us in the suburbs during lockdown. Yep. That's what I said. All right, folks. I'm torn on whether to do a night owls today. I think I might skip the night owls today on the Sunday, or maybe I'll just do something unannounced. I really want to get the Beast, my new massive computer, set up, and that's going to take some time. I've got a hockey game to watch here in about 30 minutes, so I'm going to watch the Hershey Bears play, and hopefully they'll win. And then I really need to get some more exercise in, and then I want to come back and set my computer up. But if I do the night owl stream, I won't get around to doing the computer till later, so I may skip the night owls. Gosh, my nose is really itching. Sorry. Lightrate says, Oy vey, not with the Schwartz laser in space, with the shooting of the trees and cute buddies. Oligarchs and plutocrats seem to be the real rules, have the rules. Okay. They did an operation to prepare for an outbreak. I say that caused the government talks in code. They trigger me to look up Operation Dark Winter when you get some time. Well, Alice, I'm not sure what that is, but I've worked in government for nearly 5 decades, and I'm not really sure what that is. I've worked with the State Department extensively. I've worked with the Department of Energy. I've worked with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I have not worked with Homeland Security ever, because I was overseas most of the time since they existed. But I'm not familiar with that sort of thing. I've worked on national emergencies, conflict, disasters. I'm not sure what the code words are, but I can understand why people have low trust of our government. There's good reasons not to trust our government. It's really slimy these days. Really slimy. I mean, how can they, in any good faith, impeach Donald Trump? He's a private citizen. The Senate has no jurisdiction over a private citizen unless you call them for testimony and then they lie. Then you can charge them with obstruction of Congress or perjury in front of Congress, but that's it. Congress doesn't have legal authority over citizens. The executive branch does through the Department of Justice, and only over federal crimes, not over local crimes. You commit a homicide in your jurisdiction, it's not the federal government's going to prosecute you unless you murder a federal official. That's a different story. So, yeah, that's, there you have it. There you have it. Yeah, I need to finish the Beast Hendo. That's what I need to get done, so I think that's important. 30 minutes to Ronaldo hummus program, and Ronaldo will be celebrating 100,000 subscribers. Wow, congratulations to Ronaldo. That's very impressive. And he'll get that elusive plaque from YouTube, I suppose, unless they've stopped doing it for 100,000 subscribers. It looks like I have a long way to go before I will get to there. Hopefully it won't take 14 years, because I don't think I'll do it 14 years, but we're at 21,068. So anyone who subscribed today, thank you so much for your subscription to the channel. Anyone wants to be a paying member, you're welcome to do that as well and support the channel. We had a members perks stream last night, which went pretty well. Roy's got to go. You already had 2 great streams. Take a break. Tschüss. Guten Abend. Yep. Anyway, appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot for following the channel. And I'm going to leave you guys here and say thanks a lot. And I hope that you have a lovely Valentine's Day. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little treat on Valentine's Day. No, it's not sugar. It's not coffee. It's none of that stuff. It's something you're probably accustomed to, some of you anyway. Took him so long. You're already at 20,000. Sounds like you're doing better than he did. Yes, Lars Solis, and I actually, this is remarkable growth. But we hit a wall because I actually started talking about politics in the U.S., which apparently is not allowed in this country. You can't tell the truth. But as a political scientist and a historian and a 36-year veteran in uniform, I'm more than comfortable talking about these issues. Anyway, folks, thanks a lot. If I don't do Night Owls, which looks like the case right now, I will be back tomorrow for the program, and I will be reading once again from my latest book, a couple paragraphs out of this again tomorrow, Expanding U.S. Military Command in Africa. the chapter that I produced for this. And again, this is the other one we had a couple years ago, Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success. Won't be reading from that one, but I will be reading a little bit from this book again tomorrow, just so you guys get the free, because remember, this is a $160 book. So I don't want you to break the bank buying a book. By the way, I don't get anything from that book. If you do buy my merchandise on Teespring, I do get a little something from that. So feel free to check out the merchandise, folks. That's it. Thank you to the moderators for the hard work you do on the channel. I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who watched the Monty Jackson stream this morning. That was epic. Really enjoyed it. And thank you all for your support. The donations this morning for Monty Jackson were well received, and I will be making sure I transmit funds to Monty Jackson, which he still doesn't know about. So don't let the secret out. He's going to be surprised. Anyway, thanks, folks. Anyway, hey, Johan was here. I didn't even see Johan. He was being quiet in the background. Anyway, so with that, it's time to say so long for the day, at least for this part. You guys have a good one, and I'll catch you later here on Chris White Africa the next time. Take care of yourself.